Good afternoon, members of the Heritage Pork Guild. What are the hot trends on today's restaurant scene? According to a recent survey of 1,800 chefs, the hot appetizer is in-house cured meats, or also known as charcuterie. Now to the entree. The number one trend in main dishes is locally sourced meats. Now let's go to the back of the house, the ingredients and food preparation. The number one trend and number one culinary theme in ingredients is sourcing environmentally sustainable food products. And coming in at number 5 in food preparation is nose to tail cooking, literally using every part of the animal. Members of the board of directors of the Heritage Pork Guild, your product, Heartland Artisan Pork, is positioned to take advantage of these trends. Let me introduce you to the members of your team. Rebecca Vossen, Jesse Vance, Rachel Haft, Ellen Blint, Erica Weinrich, Stephen Beiswinger, Curtis Washburn, and I'm Garrett Timmons. Also, Katrina Schreiner and Emily Warhurst helping out with the audio and visual. The past few years have been challenging for restaurants. Servings of most meat entrees have been steady at best, while servings of poultry, beef, and seafood have held steady or even declined. Pork servings today are higher than they were 6 years ago. Pork is in. Restaurants are embracing the traditional heritage breeds of swine, such as Berkshires, Old Spots, Tamworths, and Mangalistas. These breeds' meats tend to be dark in color and streaked with fat, and are well suited for the nose-to-tail use that many restaurants today are adopting. Parts of the pig that were in the past just discarded are now being used in a process known as charcuterie. Charcuterie is a smoking, salting, and curing of meats. Members of the guild, your heritage breed of swine, the guinea hog, is ideally suited for this market. Last fall, 14 Central Illinois guinea hog producers came together to form the Heritage Pork Guild. These members have small, diversified operations, and most of them specialize in raising heirloom breeds of livestock. These members recognized early on they need help to develop and execute a plan to market their animals to local restaurants. Retaining the Willow and Maine marketing group will allow members to concentrate on producing the consistent quality of animals chefs desire and in the quantities that are economically viable. To ensure a uniform product, each member has agreed to a strict protocol on how the animals are to be raised and fed. Each member has also agreed to provide a specific number of animals as Heartland Artisan Pork each month.
Garrett, our prime customers will be independently owned restaurants, which will be termed fine dining establishments. These restaurants want to offer their patrons the finest in food, service, and atmosphere. They want to provide their customers with a unique dining experience. Many of these customers are willing to pay premium prices for locally sourced, sustainable meat. Over the next 3 years, our marketing efforts will concentrate on fine dining establishments in the Chicago and St. Louis areas, as well as restaurants in smaller cities located between these two major metropolitan areas. We call that market the I-55 corridor, which is the interstate that runs in between these two cities. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau indicates approximately 22,000 restaurants in this market, but using the Urban Guide Yelp and the social media site Foursquare, we have identified 130 restaurants which we believe would be excellent potential customers for Heartland Artisan Pork. We identified 55 in Chicago, 39 in St. Louis, and 36 additional restaurants 60 to 70 miles on both sides of I-55. These restaurants are literally carving out a niche with their in-house nose-to-tail meat processing. I would like to introduce you to Chef Spencer Smith. Chef Smith, who actually uses the guinea hog in his restaurant, has agreed to give a chef's point of view on your product.
Thank you, Ellen. I operate in a very competitive market environment. I'm always looking for an advantage, and our in-house processing provides that edge. We let our customers know that the meat they will be eating is locally produced and humanely raised. Our in-house processing makes sense economically because we can use the hog from snout to tail. We do our own smoking and curing, and our salamis, copa, and prosciutto are very popular among our customers.
Thank you, Chef. Our goal is to be supplying Heartland Artisan Pork to 54 of the 130 restaurants by 2017. That's a market penetration of 42%. With each of these restaurants taking delivery of 36 carcasses per year, that's a total annual sale of nearly 2,000 head of hog and a gross revenue of over $900,000. Guild members will be receiving a net return of $4 per pound on a carcass basis.
Thank you, Ellen. Ladies and gentlemen, you will be supplying your customers with a distinctive, locally grown meat. You have agreed to produce your animals under a protocol that will provide your customers with a product that has the consistent qualities that fine dining restaurants require. You have also agreed to raising enough animals that your customers can feel confident that they will receive the quantities to meet their needs. And as your enterprise becomes profitable, you are willing to expand your output to meet the growing market. While your product has strengths, and there are certainly going to be opportunities, we must also be aware of the weaknesses and threats. Heartland Artisan Pork is flavorful and has the quality traits such as intramuscular fat, color, reduction in cooking loss, and tenderness that your customers will appreciate. It is locally produced, and because Guild members are committed to raising their animals under a common protocol, the quality will remain consistent. Customers will receive fresh chilled carcasses on a 10-day delivery schedule, and because carcass weights are relatively small, they are easy to handle. However, the guinea hog is not as well known as other competitive heritage breeds, and compared to commercially produced pork, it will be more expensive. Because your herd sizes are small, it may take time to ramp up production if demand outstrips supply. You will be competing against other heritage breeds, as well as guinea hog producers that are not members of the Guild. There are opportunities. We may want to look into the direct sale of individual consumers, as well as to meat shops that do charcuterie. There are also restaurants in other metropolitan areas, such as Milwaukee and Indianapolis, that we could explore.
Heartland Artisan Pork faces competition from two types of pork. The first are hogs produced on large confinement operations, and the second is pork from other heritage breeds. Most of our potential customers use well-established meat wholesalers that supply restaurants with meat from animals raised by large commercial producers and processed by large packers such as Tyson, Smithfield, and Cargill. The advantages of this type of pork from a typical commercial breed are: there's a well-established wholesale delivery system that supplies restaurants with primal and subprimal cuts that make preparation relatively easy. Commercially produced pork is very competitively priced. It is consistent in quality and has many characteristics that consumers find desirable, such as leanness and light in color. However, there are many large operations that use additives which can negatively affect meat tenderness and flavor. On the other hand, pork from heritage breeds, including your guinea hogs, have attributes that chefs are embracing. This type of meat has a higher fat content, which adds to its flavor and palatability. It is deep red in color and ranks high in tenderness. It is ideal for salting, smoking, and curing. The Berkshire is probably the most well-known and accepted of these heritage breeds. However, there are some features of the Berkshire breed and production methods that may concern some chefs and restaurant owners. Berkshires have a relatively large carcass, which means their carcass may be difficult for chefs to handle in the smaller kitchens. Berkshires are also primarily fed grain, so their meat lacks the flavor profile of your Heartland Artisan Pork. Berkshires are raised in fairly large confinement operations and may be transported in from a long distance. Chefs wanting to provide their customers with a more local, naturally produced product would find Heartland Artisan Pork as an attractive alternative. Other heritage breeds such as Mangalistas, Old Spots, and Tamworths would come from micro farms, and issues with quality control, uniformity, and consistently deliverable quantities could be a problem for some chefs or restaurant owners.
Heartland Artisan Pork is produced from the guinea hog. This heritage breed of hog is believed to have originated in West Africa and was brought to America in the early 1800s. An excellent forager, the guinea hog thrives on a diet of grasses, nuts, and roots. Because the guinea hog is relatively small in size and tends to have a high fat percentage, it is a breed that was not readily adapted to commercial swine production. And by the 1940s, the breed almost ceased to exist. But hobby farmers devoted to preserving heritage breeds continued to maintain small herds of the animals, and with the increased interest by chefs in featuring fat-type hogs for both entrees and charcuterie, the interest in the guinea hog has been renewed. The use of the guinea hog is growing in popularity, and it's becoming a more widely recognized breed in the culinary arena. The protocol each guild member must follow in order to produce these hogs calls for relatively large areas to range, and a diet where grain is not the primary feedstuff. With that being said, nearly all current producers have large wooded areas for the hogs to range and have access to a variety of feed ingredients, as well as alfalfa hay and alfalfa pellets. The processing of the animals will be done at a federally inspected and centrally located locker in Chenoa, Illinois, and the animals will be delivered to restaurants on a 10-day schedule. In year one, we plan to market the hogs on a carcass basis at a price of $5 per pound. Although this is substantially higher than commercial pork carcasses, it is comparable with other heritage breeds and does include delivery to the restaurant.
Stephen, our plan to promote Heartland Artisan Pork will focus on direct contact with restaurateurs, chefs, and using social media. As you know, the market for your product is limited in terms of restaurant attributes and geographical area. Because we are focusing on a relatively small number of potential customers, our marketing team believes that direct contact with chefs and restaurant owners will make the most effective use of our marketing resources. Having a meaningful relationship with each business is very important to us. Beginning in June, we'll make on-site visits to our potential restaurant customers. A member of the Willow and May Marketing Group, as well as a farmer member of the Guild, will call on each targeted restaurant. At this meeting, we'll provide a sampler of charcuterie produced from guinea hogs. We'll also fully explain the production protocol used by the Guild members, delivery procedures, and pricing. We'll also be providing for our restaurant customers signage indicating that they feature our product.
Jesse, I'm used to having vendors stop by my restaurant and present new products. Having an actual producer along with a sales representative is something unique, and I think most chefs would like to hear how the products they will be using are produced.
Beginning this fall, the Guild will hold a Heartland Artisan Pork Day. Chefs from potential markets will be invited to have a meal at one of the farms in which guinea hogs are produced. Chefs attending will receive a meal, information, and recipe ideas. We have already booked James Beard-nominated Chef Craig Deal to prepare this year's meal. Chef Deal has been preparing pork from guinea hogs in his restaurant in South Carolina for several years.
I'm looking forward to this event. I know many of my colleagues would jump at the opportunity to get away from the restaurant for a day, visit a farm, have lunch, and talk food with fellow chefs.
Members of the Guild want to be environmentally and socially responsible. We will be donating 3 carcasses to the No Kid Hungry dinners located in St. Louis and Chicago. We will also be participating in a series of tasting tours called Kushan 555. This tour promotes heritage breed pigs through the preparation and serving of dishes of these animals. This tour has stops in St. Louis and Chicago, and we will be donating 2 carcasses to each of these events.
These kinds of events are great for me to discover new products. I get to see a lot of different preparation techniques from many different chefs. This event certainly will raise the visibility of heritage breeds of swine and will promote your product to potential customers.
We will also develop the Guild's website, which will feature video testimonials such as this one from Chef Klaus Schmidt.
Hello, my name is Klaus Schmidt. I'm the executive chef at the Oak Door restaurant here in Bloomington, Illinois. We have been doing our own in-house meat processing for several years.
Then there is social media. Facebook will be an excellent forum for us to present our product and to engage in conversation with current and potential customers. We will also be connecting with our customers through Instagram and Twitter. Our social media sites will feature creative ways to cook our product and recipes, our upcoming events, latest promotions, and also a list of restaurants that feature our product. Foursquare check-in promotion will be utilized to create awareness towards Heartland Artisan Pork in the menu.
I would say that many of my colleagues and I are addicted to social media. When not cooking, we're on our phones, tablets, and computers, looking for new ideas and reading reviews about our restaurants and our dishes. This is how we get information and how we communicate with vendors and customers. I'm looking forward to featuring Heartland Artisan Pork in my restaurant.
Thank you, Chef Smith, for your insight. The Willow and Maine Marketing Group will carefully and continually examine the financial performance of the Guild and the effectiveness of the marketing efforts as measured by product awareness and customer satisfaction. As with any new enterprise, the monitoring of the financial performance is crucial to its long-term success. Our goal is to triple sales over the next 3 years and provide Guild members with a net return of $4 per pound. We will carefully track the financials, such as sales, cost, and profit. If sales are less than expected, we may need to consider expanding our market in terms of restaurant type and geographic location. Other markets we could explore would include Milwaukee and Indianapolis. If sales exceed the production capacity of the Guild, we may need to consider bringing in additional producers, and we do have a waiting list to join. We hope to achieve 95% customer satisfaction. We will have a close, personal relationship with our chefs and restaurateurs. We will continually solicit feedback on our product's quality, availability, and delivery schedule. Any issues will be quickly resolved. An examination of feeding protocol and delivery procedure may need addressed. We will continually monitor and adjust our marketing campaign. Our goal is to have 90% of the targeted restaurants familiar with our product. 6 months into the campaign, we will conduct our first survey of the chefs of our targeted restaurants. If we do not see the level of awareness we want, we will re-examine our marketing strategy.
Ultimately, the goal of the Willow and Main Marketing Group is to provide you, the Guild members, with a higher net return than you may receive by operating as individual producers. This cooperative effort not only reduces the average cost for processing and delivering the pork, but also enables conducting a marketing campaign to be economically feasible. Our goal is to sell 540 carcasses in the first year and increase to nearly 2,000 by the end of the 3rd year. With each carcass averaging 85 pounds and receiving $5 per pound processed and delivered to the customer, gross revenue will increase from $230,000 to $900,000. The expenses include the retainer for the Willow and Main Marketing Group, as well as the development of the website, Foursquare coupon redemption, hosting the annual Pork Day, and print material. In the first year, marketing expenses to revenue, will be initially over 19%. But as we move forward in our 3-year planning horizon, that percentage falls to 16%. But again, our objective is to provide you, the Guild members, with a higher net return. In the first year, we anticipate you will initially receive around $3.50 per pound. But as we move into the 3rd year, that will increase to $4 per pound.
Members of the Guild, thank you for your time. We want to assure you that our team is committed to making the Heritage Pork Guild a successful and profitable enterprise, and your product the pork of choice for fine dining establishments. With your approval, our team is ready to launch our marketing plan for your farm-raised, chef-driven, Heartland Artisan Pork. At this time, we'd love to entertain any questions you may have.
There it is. Well, first of all, congratulations on making the finals, and to all the finals folks here. This was hard to do, but you've done a really good job. I do have a couple dozen questions for you, however. You talked to 1,800 chefs, is that correct? Did you do original or primary research with 1,800 chefs?
The survey indicated with 1,800 chefs is done by the NRA, not the one you're thinking of, the National Restaurant Association. And they targeted 1,800 chefs. Would you want to bring up the slide we have on that? And it indicated about multiple questions on what's the trends today in the culinary arena, and it highlighted heavily on in-house processing, meats and charcuterie, and it's kind of goes right in line with our marketing plan.
Okay, so you did not do any primary research yourself?
Not ourselves. We did took the information from the NRA.
Okay, that's secondary research. Yeah. Okay, so all of this is secondary research. How did you choose 130 restaurants that were perfect for you? How'd you get to that point?
The restaurants that we decided upon were ones that already did in-house meat curing. Can you bring up the slide that has the list of those restaurants? The ones that are in Chicago, there is Avec, there is the Purple Pig, there's the Publican. They are already doing their own in-house meat curing and meat processing. The ones that are in St. Louis, so these are in Chicago, and then the ones that are in St. Louis, there's the Taste, there's the Sydney Street Cafe, and then the Block. These also are doing their own in-house meat processing.
So that was the basic thing, that they had to be doing their own in-house meat processing
yes.
to make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Couple questions on the customer profile side. You indicated in your plan that recent studies indicate that consumers are interested in purchasing and paying more for free range. I'm wondering whether you might mean willing to pay more for free range than interested, but nonetheless, maybe they want to give more money, pay more money in general. Can you tell me a little bit about the thinking there on the free range? Why do you think that that's important to them?
Today we're seeing, a further gap from where food is being produced to the consumers that are purchasing it. So these consumers want to make sure that these animals are raised, in a healthy way and in a healthy environment. So that's why we feel that their free range would be a better option for some of these consumers.
I'm more curious about assuring that we have sales going forward. You're only talking about selling 3 carcasses, 3 85-pound carcasses per restaurant per month. But are we signing contracts with chefs? I mean, they come and go, and how can we know for sure that this trend is going to stay and we're going to have sales going into year 3 and beyond?
You want to pull the survey up again? We are in a research. We found that chefs talking about 10 years from now, what do you believe are going to be the trends of the industry? And they indicated that the environmental sustainability, local sourcing of foods, for right here, health and nutrition. So this goes in line with our marketing plan. So we believe that we'll have a sustained demand. Then also we have created agreements with contracts when we go into business with a restaurant to guarantee so we can have a steady supply. We set up a production schedule for our producers to set up per month sales farrowed, so we have a consistent quality or consistent supply comes to the restaurants, because that's what we offer as a guild, a consistent uniform product where microfarms could not.
And also the restaurants that we are selling to, they do have a 12-month contract to buy at least three pigs per month.
Sorry, that's 36 pigs per month, or per year. It's 3 per month, yes.
Did I understand correctly that right now we're looking at a $5 price per pound on a carcass weight basis, right? But then I thought someone said that we're looking then at a net return of $4 per pound. Was that correct?
The net return is after we take out our cut of the profit, and also we pay for the delivery fee for the hog to make it to the restaurant.
So and the net return is to the producer. So the cost of the restaurant is $5 per pound, and the net return is to the producer that produced the animal.
So it's costing us less than $1 per pound to produce these pigs. You're saying that we're charging the retailers $5 per pound, but our return is going to be $4 per pound?
No, the producer's return. The guild is taking just around $1 per pound.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Question on the customer satisfaction. You want to achieve 95% on that. How are you going to measure that? What's your system for doing that?
One of our biggest thing is the return on investment. I know most businesses worry about this, so if you could go ahead and pull up that slide. We're actually going to use one of these sites to be tracking this constantly. It's really easy for us to track all of our social media sites. That way customers can talk to us, our chefs can talk to us. There's a few different sites. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. And with this, we can actually type in Heartland Artisan Pork or charcuterie, and that will provide us with, on social media, on the internet, everybody that's talking about our product. And we also have a, oh, sorry. Okay. And so if you want to go through those for me. And so these are just a few different sites that we're looking at using. It's a little more in-depth the more you pay per month. We're going to try some free trials and figure out what we like. So we found about 5 different sites that we're looking into right now.
So you're saying that an individual will give you feedback through the site on whether they're happy, or the chef will, or the end consumer, which will it be?
We're just looking through our, the consumer, the chef. We're mainly working through the chefs, but we also realize social media is everywhere, so consumers will also be using these sites.
So, excuse me, so essentially on that, unless they go on social media and say, I love it or I hate it, we don't know what their satisfaction is. We're not going directly to them and asking, what's your satisfaction rating on our product?
Right. Actually, members of the Willow and Maine will keep in contact with our chefs throughout. So the chefs, I guess, will be getting that from their consumers. Okay.
6 months into that campaign, we're going to be surveying all of the chefs about what they like, what they'd like to see different. Do they like how things are being delivered? Do they need them more often? Are we providing too many hogs, etc., just to see how we can improve as a guild.
Okay.
I have a question here about the chefs, of course, and I think it was mentioned that they want to do something that's special for their restaurant. They want to have something that's different. They want to attract customers. So if you have, is it 55 restaurants in Chicago? I know Chicago's a big area. But if you have 55 restaurants in Chicago and some of them may be close to each other, are they going to be happy buying the same stuff? And along with that, how are you going to help the restaurants promote this type of meat?
So in the first year, as you can see in your executive plan, I believe it's 12 restaurants in the first year. So then by the end of the third year, we have 54 of the 130 restaurants. To answer your question, we're trying to make sure that they are spread out, and as word spreads, that they won't be right next to each other. And like you said, Chicago is a large area, so we just want to make sure that they are within that area, but they're not going to be right next to each other.
Again, with the chefs, most chefs do communicate with each other. I mean, when you're up at the higher ranks of, I guess, the chef industry, chefs do share recipes and stuff. However, there's like a golden rule that they do not exactly copy somebody unless they cite it in their menu. So they're going to add their own kind of twist to it, and chefs are always talking to each other, wanting to know what's working, what they can change, what they're looking for. So they're always getting feedback from each other.
I know we talked about the sustainability and that was a 10-year trend in the food industry, and I get that. But if we're talking about the decline in beef and chicken and the increase in pork over the last, I believe it was 6 years, you said, what's the bubble on this? I mean, what are we looking at of somebody goes, now we want wild boar and not pork, and all of a sudden we're still sustainable, but we're not hot anymore. What's our contingency plan?
We believe our charcuterie is a very unique platter that is going to has a great taste and juiciness above other pork products. And since we're the premier pork product on the market, even if a potential decrease in demand occurs, we'll still be high in the market just because of our unique flavors and our higher ratings in all of the grades against Berkshires and other heritage breeds.
Okay. I noticed you spent, did you say 35% of your outlay on the Foursquare promotion? How did you arrive at deciding to spend that much on that particular tactic?